In Colombia, President Gustavo Petro signed a decree declaring a formal ceasefire with the National Liberation Army. In Trinidad and Tobago, Dominica's Prime Minister and incoming CARICOM President, Gustavo, announced that the community will allow the free movement of all citizens by early 2024. In Austria, the 8th International Seminar of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries closed, with calls to defend price stability. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from TeleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The President of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, signed on Wednesday a decree declaring a formal ceasefire with the guerrilla group National Liberation Army between August 3, 2023 and January 29, 2024. The decree states that the so-called bilateral and temporary national ceasefire may be extended after the peace talks table has assessed the reports of the monitoring and verification mechanisms and in accordance with what was agreed by the parties. On the other hand, it stipulates that as of midnight on July 6, 2023, military operations and offensive police operations against members of the ELN who participate in the peace process shall be suspended. The ceasefire agreement between the government of Colombia and the guerrilla group was agreed at the beginning of last month in Havana during the third cycle of the peace talks. And with the search for solutions to regional problems, the 45th edition of the Summit of Heads of State of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, came to a close in Trinidad and Tobago. During the three-day meeting, the community affirmed that it intends to work together with partner countries and address short, medium, and long-term priorities. In addition, national leaders say they seek to make efforts to address some of the region's most pressing challenges, including energy and food insecurity. Officials also called for global financing for the countries most vulnerable to the consequences of climate change. In this context, the Prime Minister of Dominica and incoming President of the CARICOM community, Gustavo, announced on Wednesday that the community will allow the free movement of all people by early 2024. During his closing speech of the summit, Skerrit assured that the measure will reach all 13 member nations. He also assured that legal experts had been commissioned to prepare a report before March 30, 2024, in order to adopt a definitive position. For her part, the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, stated that the Chaguaramas Treaty will be modified to guarantee access to primary health care services, emergency health care, and children's primary and secondary education in order to improve the conditions of Caribbean citizens when they move around the region. Specialized authorities in Paraguay warn of the arrival of the El Niño weather event and its possible effects on the territory. The Direction of Meteorology and Hydrology of the National Department of Civil Aeronautics explained that the climatic phenomenon is information and its effects could be observed at the end of 2023. The entity pointed out that this natural phenomenon could cause floods and river flooding, as well as great economic and social damages. On the other hand, the United States National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration made official on June 8 the beginning of El Niño 2023 in the Pacific Ocean. On Thursday, Chinese authorities issued a red alert for high temperatures in Beijing, as temperatures are expected to exceed 40 degrees Celsius the coming days. This is the second red alert issued this summer in the Asian giant's capital, the highest in a three-level color-coded system for high temperatures. The decision involves an express request to businesses to stop work and outdoor activities. The city is forecast to continue to experience high temperatures until Friday, so the population was advised to take the necessary measures to prevent heat stroke and sunburn when going outside. In addition to high temperatures, some regions are facing these days torrential floods, which have already left dozens of people dead and more than 1 million homeless in central regions such as Chongqing, Hunan, Sichuan, Jiangxi, and northern inland Mongolia. Let's now take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English. where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the South. On Thursday, the 8th seminar of the Organization of Oil Exporting Countries came to an end in Austria with calls to defend oil market stability. The participants of this convention have agreed on the need to reduce production as a measure to maintain market stability as part of the challenges facing the oil and energy industry to mitigate the effects of climate change. During his inaugural speech, the Secretary General of OPEC, Haytham Al-Ghais, called for an energy transition and said that sustainability means balancing the needs of current and future generations. We go once again with our special envoy Jorge Gustavo in Vienna with the latest after the closing of the 8th OPEC.
The 8th International Seminar of OPEC here in Vienna, Austria has come to an end after 2 days sessions. And the Secretary General of the OPEC, who we did have the opportunity to interview, we're talking to Mr. Haytham Al-Ghais, was resuming in 3 pillars the big challenge of the future of the energy industry. He said that has to be economic viability, environmental protection, and also social justice. Those 3 will be difficult to achieve because there is this issue of the balance between the fuel energy, the fossil energies, and the clean energies that has to be developed almost at the same time. The 2 of them type of energy are going to be needed, he said, for the year 2045, when 23% of energy is going to be needed. It's going to be an increase of that level because of the increase of the population. And therefore, he said that both energies are needed, and in order to achieve that, it has to be that transition, but he said at different speeds. We cannot say that type of transition is going to come in only one way. The president of OPEC, who we did also interview throughout the day, Antonio Oburu, was mentioning that according to what view he has, we're talking that he is the oil minister of Equatorial Guinea, and also he says that cannot be that discussion on how to achieve that transition with the people who are not the players in this game, and quote-unquote game. The players are the oil producers that basically had regulated the industry for decades already, and not necessarily the players that are coming from, according to his word, the outside, that could be the people that defend the environment or also the financial world. He said the people who really has experience to have developed oil and energy throughout the years in the world needs to conduct this conversation. We're talking also the needs of smaller countries like Equatorial Guinea, that says they're not going to be possible for us to achieve a transition if we do it at a different speed. We have to do it at our own speed. Each country has to do it at their own speed, and that's exactly what the Secretary General was mentioning. He said, to close basically the idea, he said, it's not going to be one transition, energy transition. There are going to be many energy transitions. Many countries are going to do it their way, and that's exactly what happened in the future. And this event, about 1,000 people has attended, all producers, all consumers, all the banking system, the financial system, people regarding to the ONGs that are concerned about the climate change and the environment. So it has a huge event, and they said that now, the Secretary General said, it's time to digest those very healthy conversations that we did have from the people who are going to represent the clean energies that are going to be the future, and the people who produce the actual energies that are running the world. we got back to you now.
Thank you, Jorge, for your report. We move on to other news. On Wednesday, the president of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, accused France of interference for supporting Armenian separatism in the Nagorno-Karabakh region. The Azerbaijan's head of state urged member states of the non-aligned movement to fight neoliberalism among these leading exponents. He mentioned France, which he accused of racism, genocide, and interference in the affairs of other nations. During the opening of the ministerial meeting of the bloc to discuss the fight against emerging challenges, Aliyev asserted that the non-aligned movement was created as a result of the decolonization process, so it must fight with determination against the shameful legacy of the past and contribute to its total eradication. French authorities reported on Thursday that at least 20 people were arrested during the 8th consecutive night of popular protests. The Ministry of the Interior, Gerald Darmanin, said in a statement that on Wednesday, 81 fires were registered and 55 vehicles burned while a building was attacked by the demonstrators. Darmanin also reported that 1.5 tons of pyrotechnic material have been seized in just over a week in the metropolitan region of Paris, where the protests are concentrated. Elsewhere, the President Macron affirmed during a meeting with 250 mayors of cities affected by the riots that the peak of violence has passed, while he announced an emergency law to accelerate the reconstruction. In this sense, Macron stated that within the families there is a problem of authority because a large part of the demonstrators are minors. EU's Home Affairs Commissioner Ylva Johansson described the sinking of a migrant boat off the Greek coast on June 14th as unique in scale. Over 600 people are believed to have died. EU lawmakers on Thursday sought an independent probe into the sinking, calling an internal investigation by Athens inadequate.
It's obvious for everybody that we are not doing enough to prevent these tragic events on an EU level. I will come back to that. Fortunately, I mean, this tragedy is unique in scale. The numbers of lives probably lost, we don't know exactly, of course. But it's not the first time, as you also said, Mrs. Sippel. We have seen this several times. And on this route that this vessel used, leaving from the eastern part of Libya on this big unseaworthy fishing vessels with many hundred people on board. This route actually grew with 600–700% this year. So it's also a matter of time when it will happen at this scale.
A girl died after a car crashed into a Wimbledon elementary school on Thursday in an incident that also injured 6 other children and 2 adults. Claire Kellan, local police commander for Southwest London, said the incident occurred on Camp Road, the site of the private prep school for girls aged 4 to 11. Kellan also confirmed that the driver of the vehicle, a woman in her 40s, has been arrested on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving, and they are not treating the crash as terror-related. It was the school's last day of term before the summer holidays. The school is located 1 mile from Wimbledon Stadium, which hosts the world's famous annual tennis tournament. In the United States, Newark's fire chief said 2 firefighters were killed battling a blaze on Wednesday night at a New Jersey port. The fire began when cars caught fire deep inside a cargo ship carrying 5,000 cars. Firefighters responded quickly to the emergency call and found the fire involving 5 to 7 vehicles on the 10th floor. Fire Chief Rufus Jackson reported that the blaze quickly extended to the 11th and 12th floors. The official added that the firefighters were pushed back by the intense heat as they tried to extinguish the fire, and 2 firefighters were lost. TeleSUR English launched its own videos on the band site for you to go and revisit our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Just go to the top left corner in our website homepage and click on the video option to access our VOD platform. Now we will take a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back from the south. On Thursday, the spokesman of the Russian Defense Ministry, Igor Konashenkov, reported that sea-based, long-range precision weapons struck positions held by Ukrainian troops, as well as depots storing foreign-made armored vehicles.
Tonight, the armed forces of the Russian Federation carry out a group strike with sea-based long-range precision weapons at the points of the temporary deployment of personnel of the armed forces of Ukraine and foreign mercenaries, as well as depots storing foreign-made armored vehicles. All assigned targets had been hit. The objective of the strike has been reached.
Russian authorities on Thursday announced that the foreign ministry declared 9 employees of the Finnish embassy in Moscow and the consulate general in St. Petersburg as persona non grata. In response to the confrontational actions of the Finnish authorities, the Russian side decided to revoke its consent to the activities of the consulate general of Finland in St. Petersburg as of October 1st. In turn, Finnish President Sauli Niinisto stated that Helsinki is preparing measures to respond to Moscow's decision. The Russian statement said the Niinisto government seeks to create all necessary conditions for indefinitely restricting non-emergency travel of Russian citizens to Finland, as well as transit to other Schengen area countries through Finland. The Turkish Defense Ministry spokesperson said on Thursday that Sweden's accession into NATO hinges on the approval of Parliament.
There's no reason why Sweden's membership would not be approved as long as the commitments made at the Madrid summit are concretely fulfilled, and our nation and parliament are convinced of this, as was the case for Finland. However, despite our positive attitude, the Koran burning incident that took place on the first day of the Eid al-Adha holiday is an indication of how justified we were with our reservations. We condemn this vile attack on our sacred values that was carried out in the name of so-called freedom of expression. We would like to issue a reminder that Sweden's membership hinges on the approval of our parliament. The issue is being closely followed by our public.
Lebanese authorities on Thursday denounced that Israel has fired more than 10 artillery shells towards the territories of Kfar Kuba and Kfar Hammam, while information in the Israeli media remains contradictory. According to Al Mayadin, Israeli artillery shells targeted areas in southern Lebanon. Meanwhile, the Israeli Occupation Army spokesman claimed that investigations showed that a rocket was fired from Lebanon, which exploded in Israeli territory, and in response to their army attack. However, Lebanon warned that it was the result of a hand grenade exploding inside liberated Lebanese territories and not the result of a rocket launch to Israel. Hezbollah called on the state and the people to confront the Israeli measures which attempt to establish a de facto Israeli presence in the occupied city. On Thursday, at least 16 people, including 3 children, were killed when toxic gas leaked from a cylinder near the city of Johannesburg in South Africa. South African police said the incident occurred in an informal settlement in the town of Boksburg on the eastern outskirts of Johannesburg. Emergency Services spokesman William Tladi said the leak had stopped and the crews were searching a 100-meter radius around the cylinder for more victims. Emergency Services search and rescue teams were still working in the area trying to determine the extent of the casualties that could be more than 20 people. On Wednesday, Japanese protesters gathered in Tokyo to demonstrate against the government's plan to dump nuclear-contaminated wastewater into the Pacific Ocean. The protest took place in front of a plant that they allege generates massive amounts of water contaminated with radioactive substances as it cools nuclear fuel in reactor buildings. Meanwhile, according to local media, the legalization of the dumping of this waste into the sea will begin to be carried out in August. The mobilization expressed its disapproval and condemned the use of the report of the International Atomic Energy Agency to validate the discharge into the ocean. IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi said on Tuesday that the release of the treated water stored at the Fukushima Daiichi power plant is a national decision of the government of Japan.
Even if the nuclear contaminated water undergoes secondary treatment, it still contains radioactive substances, including tritium. They have not conducted thorough investigation on the discharge plant, which is unconvincing and dangerous.
The storage tanks for the nuclear contaminated water are still there to remind us of the hazards of nuclear accidents and the visible hazards of the crippled Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant will be gone if the storage tanks are moved away. But that's exactly what the perpetrators want.
We have come to the end of this news briefing. You can find these and many other stories on our website at TeleSUREnglish.net. Also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.